wanted to clarify. You said on one time the ball went out at the 1, 12 seconds left. Was that the goal line stand, or what was the resolution of that?
That was a goal line stand. Yep.
So what, you needed a field goal to take the lead. What happened?
Yeah, I made the offense go for it. Sometimes you got to create your own situations. I mean, that's part of football, right?
So, you got one play out of it or two?
Well, great question. So what ended up happening was the clock wound. It's a great teaching moment for the quarterback, everybody knowing where the clock is in the indoor, getting lined up, and then also great communication between me and Cramsey. Hey, let's go with this play call and get it out quickly. Right, make sure we're all on the same page with the special teams coordinator, all those things. So the clock started winding. All right, so what did we do? We burned the timeout and just ran one more play.
Wow.
So ideally, you get the clock, you go out of bounds, or if he got tackled inbounds, right? You got the first down. Clock's going to start when the ball's spotted and the ump gets out of the way. Well, during this situation, man, ball got down, and it's just teaching everybody, hey, you got to go, because as soon as that ball gets spotted and he blows it, clock's rolling. So we have to have a play call ready. And, you don't want to burn the timeout. Now, if you say you're going to kick a field goal to win it at the end, right, then probably, depending on where it is, maybe you do a pass play, right? We've got some things in our scheme that we say, okay, how do we burn some of the clock? And if it's there, if not, throw it away. Mm-hmm. Or do I let the clock run all the way down to 3 seconds and bang the timeout? So I just want to continue. I think it's so much teaching. The other day at practice, we had one where a guy caught the ball for a 5-yard gain and tried to cut back towards the field north to south. Just go out of bounds. We had no timeouts. Just go out of bounds. Understand the situation. And I think the more of those things we can teach, the better way off we are. So there's going to be things that like, hey, you should have done this, but let's just put these guys in situations where they're going to have to think critically, where they're going to have to put themselves, because as much as we'll try to control on the sideline, what else is going on? And I think that's a thing we're going to continue. As much situation as we can be, we want to be the best at situational football in the country.
Right, so it was all move the ball, but moving the starting spots here and there, I take it.
No, yeah, I was very clean, 25-yard line. Let's go, okay. Yeah.
Do you recall touchdown drives? Anybody score touchdowns?
I tell you what, the defense did a nice job. The ball got all the way down to that far, and defense kept them out. So I was pleased with that. There were some field goals, but like I said, the defense did a nice job keeping them out. Playing the play, gave up some explosives, and I told them, right, if the yardage comes, that's fine. But if we keep them out of the end zone, man, we got to give ourselves a chance. Like force them to kick field goals, force them to punt, get those turnover on downs, make them go for it on the 42-yard line. And so that's where I was quite pleased with. We talked about not as many takeaways, but, man, those turnover on downs was great.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about the cornerback specifically. It looks like Jaheim, Joker, and Lakai have kind of gone with the ones. Is there anyone else who's in competition there and who might, be able to push into a big role?
Yeah, Shelton Lewis has rotated some with the ones as well. Brandon Lee, the transfer from Maryland as well, who was there with Lakai. And I think just kind of getting a feel for somewhat of these other guys can do. Hey, is this guy a corner? Is he a safety? But we like those guys. I think we got guys, some guys have played a good amount of football, but some guys are relatively green in the ability. But I like what we have in that corner position. Like we always said, feel like more you can trust those guys, maybe play more man. But that group, those four collectively have done a nice job, and we're going to see who else we can get.
Christian Harrison on Thursday was working safety. I think I've just seen him working nickel most of the time. Is that just like trying to get the best guys on the field? You got Kamori House, also working nickel?
Yeah, it's kind of like when we talked about we talked to Kamori, it was going to be mostly a nickel and then possibly that star position, possibly some safety, but Kamori's more of that nickel, that star linebacker type, and then Christian is more that safety nickel type or star nickel. So I think that position flex, Christian is really intelligent. He's played a lot of football, so I think the ability for him to be able to play both of those positions gives us a huge advantage. So we want all those guys on the back end to be able to learn to. Like that's why you'll see maybe a corner going to safety, or hey, this guy's got really fluid hips. Let's try him at corner, because we're still getting to know these guys quite a bit. But I think if they can learn two of those positions, he will, and he's certainly capable.
I think I've seen a coach wear a headset during practice, but Tim wears one pretty much every time, doesn't he?
During most of the team stuff, yeah. And a lot of that headset for him is so you have the option to either do the walkie-talkie or the headset with the C2P, the coach-to-player communication. So his headset actually gives the communication to the quarterback. So that's part of it. It's not necessarily, like if you notice, and if maybe he's even telling the guys the signaling, because if I'm a signal guy and I got to look at the call sheet and then try to signal, where I put the call sheet as I'm trying to signal. So it's twofold. The guys that are signaling, right, have the ability to just wear their headsets and get the signal directly, the play call directly from him. And then also the C2P can come from that. So he's not necessarily having to walk around. Coach Roberts sometimes just walks around with the walkie-talkie.
A lot of these scrimmages, well, you may be different, but I've seen a lot of scrimmages in the past that are more passing game focused versus the run. Pretty balanced.
Pretty balanced. Let's go play ball. Line up. We need. We've had some recruits show up and they say, "Man, y'all tackle a lot more than a lot of places." Well, we want to be healthy, right? This is not me sitting up here saying we're just going to beat the hell out of each other, but we need to see who can block, who can tackle, who can run through things, who likes physicality, and I think that's something we can determine now. Now, as you go on, right, we'll have one more scrimmage, and then the spring game. The scrimmage next Saturday is going to be live, okay, and the spring game is going to be live. And then when we come to training camp, right, it's a debate, how many live scrimmages do you do? But you have to replicate it. You can't go out there and say, hey, we haven't tackled live, but we're going to be out there ready for game one. So as much as we can do it, you can say we can practice on pads and all that stuff. We all know, right, that there's nothing better than the real thing, as long as we can be safe and healthy. But, yeah, there was call to play. And I think some of it is, even in those situations, hey, 3rd and 4, right, let's hand the ball off, see what we're capable of doing.
Quarterbacks, I assume, are off limits as far as hits, but any other rules like tackling below the waist, anything like that?
No, if we had officials out there today, I try to help with the whistle. If a guy's getting held up, I try to blow the whistle. If it's getting close to it, and it's how close are they? We don't want anybody getting too close to the quarterback, but we also don't want them thinking they're, Spider-Man. If they get within 5 feet, they can just shoot a web. And come on, let's make sure, right? We don't want everybody yelling, "Hey, he's down." But just being smart with that. And I think they take care of each other. No blindside blocks. If somebody gets, whether it's a screen or if somebody gets an interception, we don't want to peel back stuff. Usually we'll blow the whistle on a turnover. If the ball's on the ground, if an offensive player fumbles the ball, okay, and if it's a quarterback that drops it real quick on the snap, he can pick it back up and play ball. If somebody fumbles the ball into the play, it's the defensive ball. Offensive guys get away. Turnovers are death. Get off the field, go do your up downs. It's a defensive ball right there. So anytime the ball hits the ground from an offensive player, get away. It's no longer our ball. It's defense has a right to it. And it practices fumble recoveries for the defense, but also as an offensive guy, it prevents injuries because if all of a sudden you get guys jumping in or guys getting rolled up, I've learned over time that's probably the best practice right now.
You can always get a lot of good looks at the offensive line and defensive line, I think, through non-tackle stuff, but Yep. It seems like these are going to be big for running backs and linebackers especially. Anybody jump out from the linebacker corps? And also, is Phoenix Jackson, has he been out there?
He's a little bit banged up.
Okay.
We don't think it's a long-term injury either. So he's been, but he has done a nice job. He's done a really good job at linebacker. We haven't talked much is Quay Smith. Okay, the transfer. He plays with a different edge about him. You can see it. He's really explosive. He runs the ball. He's vocal. Bradley Shaw's having a really nice spring so far as well. I know he played a lot of football here, but you're seeing Bradley. I think he's trimmed down a little bit. He's really explosive and doing some really good things. We talked about the Wyatt Simmons pick. Ja'Cory Smith, I don't like talking about young guys too much, but, the freshman who's out there, first couple days, he was big eyes trying to figure it all out. But once he's learning this system, man, you get to see some of his athletic ability. And then at the running back position, I've seen a lot of Sutton Smith, right, throughout my career, and I know what he's capable of. He's doing some good things. Continue to encourage Sutton, who's a shifty back, just to hit the ball, go downfield. A 3-yard run will take it. And some of those have exploded, until now you break a tackle or you get through there, you read the right read or make somebody miss in the hole. Now it's a different deal. Braylon Russell, I've talked about, he's trimmed down. He's playing hard. His effort has been tremendous. We have this thing, like you guys have heard me talk about our standard. Like Braylon Russell's on there for his effort almost every day. And I told him, I said, that's the knock on you coming in. Man, let me see what you're capable of. How hard do you practice? And he's been great. And then, Cam Settles, running back last year who I think his red shirt got burned with 6 or 7 games, but playing sparingly. But, man, he's a young running back that's doing a lot of things, catches the ball really well. All right. And then TJ Hodges is another true freshman that the first couple of weeks, big guys trying to figure it all out. Now he's getting settled, and you get to see some of his speed and tenacity. We got to continue to teach him, hey, run through the tackles. But I've been pleased with both the linebacker and running back depth, and we're going to see guys that continue to rotate and see what they're capable of doing.
You mentioned Jaquavian Smith. I don't think there was a lot of celebration. The guy from Howard that nobody really knows about. I'm wondering how that recruitment from when he entered the portal came about. Is there a connection there? And I think he came out like with the first group the first day. Like, what did he do to put himself in that spot?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, to whatever it's worth, not worried about the fanfare of a player. He's a guy we watched on film. It's like, man, this kid's really productive. He's fast. He runs the ball and plays physical. Didn't matter where he came from, and just go out there and he played ball. It reminds me, he's not as big, but we had a kid named Chandler Martin that we got from the FCS level at Memphis, and he had been a 2-time all-conference player. And people are like, wait, where did he come from? And he had opportunities and had success with us. And Quay Smith's been just phenomenal. And so I think you got to actually watch it on film. You go back and watch some of the hard film, you see some of those intangible things that he's able to do. And it's showing up. It's showing up on a Tuesday practice. And like you said, whether he goes with the ones or the twos, he's a guy, great understanding. He's a ball junkie. And so that's kind of fun to watch him out there and do those things.
What about the interior, the defensive line? So many new guys, transfers that you brought in, and then the 2 freshmen look like college bodies already. I mean, what have you seen from that group, and what did you see from them today?
David Oakey's a guy that was a highly recruited transfer but missed most of last year with an injury. He's coming in and doing some really good things. Hunter Osborne is a guy that I think has a chance to be really damn good. I like the way he plays. Hunter's got some leadership about him. Obviously started a lot of football games at UVA last year and played a lot. Obviously, prior to that, he transferred from Alabama. But I've been pleased with Hunter, is what he's doing. Then just the rotation of those guys, right? Day Sims sometimes goes inside. What's he capable of? And T. Odom, you getting in the mix, just seeing what they're all capable of. And then for Beal and Kennedy, man, they're 2 young guys that looked the part for sure. We just got to continue to push. Been pleased. Danny's does some really good things. And I think it's just, taking the bit. Colton Yarbrough, an edge guy, but another freshman that's, getting thrown in the mix at D-line in the SEC as a freshman. It's kind of neat to kind of see what you got.
You talked about 4th down a little bit today. What's your relationship with that down, with the analytics? How much do you rely on, the paper, or, is it always the paper? Do you not really like to look at it? What's your relationship there?
Sure, I do, right? Analytics is something that's always been in football, and then obviously become more in vogue and discussed, which is great. I think the more you can have those discussions on when to go for what it looks like, 2-minute situational football, it's great. And have those conversations with the entire staff and make sure the team understands why. I think you look at it can certainly help you in certain situations. I think there's also, when those analytic books are written, if they're written on a Wednesday, and they try to have an understanding what that weather may look like at 6 p.m. on a Saturday. But there's also the ebbs and flows of a football game, right? What's the crowd noise look like? Hey, did the right guard's girlfriend break up with him the night before? Like, you can't measure that in an analytic book. And so you got to know, okay, hey, maybe we got to figure this out. Maybe we got to punt here because they're starting punt returners out with an injury, and maybe we have the opportunity to get the ball if the new guy drops or doesn't make the right call. And so I think there's a lot that goes into it. You still got to go with some gut feeling. But if you can use analytics to help you make an educated decision, we will. And so it's that fine balance. I don't know any coach that just says 100% strictly by the book and analytics, and I don't know another coach that's 100% gut. Now, there's some that, will tell you they're one way or the other, but I think the more that we can be educated in a decision and the process, we will be. And, how do you put yourselves in those situations in these practices and these scrimmages? Just to have that dialogue, I think it's huge.
Antonio Jordan, we've seen him make plays. Kyle mentioned something. Just, does it feel like he's working his way up to, second, first team, just slowly but surely right now? I mean, the frame kind of speaks for itself.
The frame speaks for itself. He's a young guy. I think Coach Smith, y'all had him in here, I think this week or the week before. I think he refers to him as like a baby giraffe, just kind of learning how to walk and move. But, man, AJ's got some really, really talented skill set, and he does a lot of great things. Obviously, that frame, the radius, he's able to go catch the football. He's working really hard. He's got that blue collar mentality, and he cares. We just got to continue to progress him in understanding the depths of routes, understanding the full element of the playbook. Right? Just because I always say, it goes back to the statement, like, just because a guy's 6'4" and runs well, like, there's other things that go along with the route running. He's continued to learn that, but been very, very pleased with him. We'll see where he falls in the mix. He's got a lot of football left to continue to play.